What's up, squad? It's your Squid coming at you with another video for my motorsport playlist. You already know what it's about. This is my list of patrons. They're awesome. Please consider becoming a patron of mine. I like money. Having some of yours be mine would be dope. And yeah, hit subscribe if you haven't already as well, because I'm trying to get to 5,000 subs by the end of the year. Can't do it without people like you. But this video has been requested multiple times. My camera doesn't record for longer than half an hour. The video goes for 36 minutes, so it's going to be a two-parter. But I'll shut up and we'll get straight into it. The 9 types of NASCAR winners. Let's do this. Thanks for clicking on the title or the thumbnail as always, guys. I'll just get straight into it. As I said, multi-parter, 9 types of NASCAR winners. It's a slap shoes video, NASCAR alignment chart, it says. So let's have a look. I'm thinking Dungeons and Dragons style.
NASCAR is no stranger to unique characters. One could actually make a pretty compelling argument that those people are more of a draw to the sport than the actual product out there on the track. Throughout its 80-plus year history, we have seen all manner of thousands of different men and women roll the dice in stock car racing's biggest stage. From kings to silver foxes, from humble mechanics racing part-time to rich playboys just trying their hand at going fast. But by my count, out of those thousands, only around 400 have ever won a race in NASCAR's top 3 touring series. Just in the Cup Series alone, we have nearly 3,000 individuals who have cranked up their engines to start a race, and only 191 have ever actually crossed the line in first in at least one of those starts. Winning a race in one of the 3 big leagues of stock car racing is an extremely difficult task that involves gobs of money getting flung around, an absurd amount of raw talent, mixed with a high level of experience you can't get anywhere else except by just turning laps, and of course, a little bit of luck. Not only are you battling the laws of physics and your own fear, but you're doing this dance with a 3,000-pound hunk of steel that has the aerodynamic properties of a brick, with a 20-something gallon tank of highly flammable liquid strapped to the back, with 20 to 40 other guys and gals trying their best to beat you to the line.
How's that view?
For the course of hours. Swimming in a metal coffin that can reach temperatures of up to 145 degrees Fahrenheit. What kinds of people do this? Better yet, what kinds of people like doing this and are good at it? Who are these lucky few hundred? What makes them tick?
You're about to tell us, bro.
Let's find out.
Yep, this is good. He's such a quality content creator. Go and click the link in my description. The link to this video is in the description. Go and check him out and subscribe to Slap Shoes if you haven't heard of him.
Or you're just a
yeah, there we go. It's the D&D style fucking alignment chart. I like it. That's what I was thinking.
If you've ever played Dungeons and Dragons before, or you're just a denizen of the internet like me, you'll recognize this immediately as an alignment chart. It's got 2 axes. One looks at lawfulness and chaos, the other one looks at good and evil. One determines whether or not you follow the spirit of the law, the other one looks at whether or not you follow the letter of the law. Outside of D&D, this is probably one of the oldest internet memes, and you can use it to easily label any group of things or characters for your own enjoyment. It quite literally goes with anything. What type of media port you use, Game of Thrones characters, you name it, and you can fit it into an alignment chart. NASCAR isn't any different, so let's get into it. But where to start? You know, NASCAR has always been called a sport of good old boys, so why not start with the truest form of good there is?
Darryl Waltrip, he's a good old boy.
These are guys who follow the rules, respect their competitors, and are generally well-liked by fans due to their honorable nature. These are guys like Benny Parsons, Chase Elliott, and his old man Bill Elliott. Guys like this work hard, race hard, and get the results to show for it at the end of the day, without pissing anybody off and keeping the fans on their side. Bill Elliott won Most Popular Driver of the Year honors 16 times in his career. And likely would have won more if he hadn't requested that his name be removed from the ballot in 2002 just so other drivers could have a chance. Good drivers have a nasty habit. One that will test even their most ardent supporters through all of the heartache and occasional nausea, and we'll get into that in greater detail in just a minute or two. But I think there is one man who epitomizes lawful good more than any other driver, and that is none other than my favorite race car driver of all time, Mark Martin. Mark Martin won nearly 100 races in NASCAR's top 3 divisions. He was also one of the first guys to utilize a strenuous physical fitness regimen to give himself an edge out on the track, so that he could better endure the harsh conditions inside of a race car for longer periods of time. Mark was beloved by fans and drivers alike, and he rarely, if ever, had a heated word to say towards anybody. He raced everybody around him cleanly, and his competitors responded in kind. This very give-and-take style helped Mark to win a lot of races, but Mark Martin also finished second, disturbingly often. He won 40 races.
Oh yeah, he's the one with Jeff Gordon, right?
But he ended up with 61 runner-up finishes. He was 50% more likely to finish second than he was to win.
Wow.
In the Cup Series, this is unprecedented for drivers with his win total. Most have more wins than runner-ups, but for those who have more second-place honors, it's usually at least pretty close. But Mark breaks this chart. Oddly enough, another all-around good guy, Harry Gant, pops up here too. He won 18 races but finished second 35 times. He was nearly twice as likely to be the runner-up than he was to win. Bill and Chase Elliott, they finished second 8 times before they won their first respective races. But the heartbreak doesn't end by just coming up short more often than winning. For Mark Martin, it was all about when and where he finished second. There was the heart-wrenching loss at the 2007 Daytona 500, where Mark had the car to beat, but a late green-white checkered saw Kevin Harvick come from way back in the field in just 2 laps to nudge Mark out at the line. It was just the 4th lap. Kevin Harvick led all day. Mark finished second at the Brickyard 400 twice, and in general struggled to notch off victories in marquee events. But there was no bigger Achilles heel of his than Pocono. For a man so good at winning races on the big tracks and road courses, including 3 wins in a row at Watkins Glen, you'd think that the 2.5-mile tricky triangle of Pocono would be a natural fit for him, and it was. It was far and away one of his best tracks. He had 20 top 5 finishes there and 7 runner-ups, all without a single victory to his credit. A trip to Victory Lane at Pocono was forever out of reach to him. This role as the bridesmaid even extended to his championship pursuits. He finished second in the championship hunt 5 separate times to 4 different drivers across nearly 2 decades of competition. In 1990 and 1994, he finished second to Dale Earnhardt. In 1998, he had his absolute best season, notching off 8 victories, including a win in the All-Star race.
Doesn't count non-points playing races, alright.
Tying 13 victories that year. In 2002, he faltered late in the year and finished second to Tony Stewart. And in 2009, he seemed like he had it in the bag, nabbing 5 wins, including the first race of the chase.
Nice.
Only to be outdone by his teammate, Jimmy Johnson. Mark Martin had the misfortune of being one of the greatest drivers of all time, while he was competing against the greatest drivers of all time.
Yeah, that's right.
In NASCAR, nice guys don't finish last, but they do finish second. A lot.
That's a good line. I like that.
That's sad. So let's go for some more lighthearted fare then. How about some guys who are wildly inconsistent? You can never quite tell what they're going to do at any given race day. But when they do show up and perform, man, they can light up the charts and make themselves alone worth the price of admission. These glass cannons are guys like Ricky Craven and Jimmy Spencer. No? Yeah, they only won 2 races at Pop in the Cup Series, but they had some of the closest and wildest finishes to their name. I mean, Jimmy Spencer's nickname was Mr. Excitement, and he lived up
to it. That's a hell of a nickname.
Chalking up the closest finish in NASCAR history in the same year electronic timing and scoring came on board in 1994. That record would stand until Ricky Craven would obliterate it in 2003 at Darlington, what has got to be the epitome of beating and banging to the line. Sure, they were never really a threat to win week in and week out, and championships were never a serious consideration. But when they were good, they were damned good. Trevor Bayne got his only career victory in the Cup Series at the Daytona 500
I've done a video on him. Check that out in my Motorsport playlist.
At a young age, he wasn't even old enough to drink the champagne they sprayed on him in Victory Lane.
Wow.
It really wasn't a fluke either.
That's cool.
He had been bad fast all the speed weeks, and Jeff Gordon had even picked him out to be his preferred drafting partner. Late in the event, he threw a mean block on Carl Edwards and notched his first and only top-tier series win.
Nice.
But I don't think anyone epitomizes chaotic good better than Jamie McMurray. He won in just his second start ever in 2002, subbing in for an injured Sterling Marlin. He straight up outran the champion from 2 seasons ago, Bobby Labonte, and walked away with his first win. It would take him 5 more years to notch win number 2, and after that, another 2 years to get.
Pause that. My cat. What do you want, huh? What do you want? What? You've been fed. This is Molly, by the way. She's the most vocal, loud little kitty that you'll ever see in your life. But you can stay here while we watch, if you like.
Number 3 at Talladega in 2009. The next year he would be let go by Roush Racing and move over to Ganassi in 2010, where he would have his breakout season. He started off by winning the Daytona 500, the biggest race of all, and then followed it up by winning the second biggest race, the Brickyard 400. He chalked up 1 more victory before the year was out, and just a few more before his career was up, including a win at the 2014 All-Star race where he flat out beat Carl Edwards in a late race shootout and what has got to be one of the last great All-Star finishes. Other than that, and a few absolutely incredible saves, he was a fairly unremarkable driver.
Fucking hell, have a look at that save, Molly. That was mental.
Are part and parcel of what makes a chaotic good driver. Shining gold, surrounded by the mundane, a diamond in the rough. Let's check out the other side of the board for a bit.
Let's check out the Eagles.
Edgier brother, KO chaotic evil. Surely the Busch brothers have to be mentioned here, as they've been known to butt heads with all manner of drivers for various reasons.
That was silly.
In the early 90s, Rusty Wallace had pissed off plenty of people with his antics, and all three drivers were one-off champions who had a tendency to be as inconsistent as they were brutish. But I don't think anybody can compare to the embodiment of chaotic evil in NASCAR that is the man in black, the Intimidator.
Dale Earnhardt
Sr.
Alright, I knew he was chaotic, I just didn't realise he was evil. Best NASCAR driver ever to drive a car. Mollykins? Little Molly head? That's Dale Earnhardt. You're not even looking, you don't care, do you? You just want pats.
Putting other people out of the way, or just flat out wrecking them to get ahead.
Yeah, he didn't care.
He was a man of great empathy as well. When Ayrton Senna in F1 and Davey Allison in NASCAR both died in 1994 and 1993 respectively, he was senior who won the following races both times. And both times he was visibly shaken and moved. He said of Davey, "I'd run second to him in a heartbeat if it meant it could bring him back." It was rare to catch his soft side, but it was there. However, when you mention Dale Earnhardt Sr., most people don't remember that. What they do remember is him wrecking their favorite driver. A man of such dualities and talent must have confounded NASCAR's old breed, who saw this young guy from rural North Carolina come into the sport in the late 70s and early 80s.
She drooled on me while I was patting her.
It was rare to catch his soft side, but it was there. However, when you mention Dale Earnhardt Sr., most people don't remember that. What they do remember is him wrecking their favorite driver. A man of such dualities and talent must have confounded NASCAR's old breed, who saw this young guy from rural North Carolina come into the sport in the late 70s and early 80s, who apparently had no interest in paying his dues and instead seemed just absolutely hell-bent on making the NASCAR world conform to his will. In just his second
if you know you're good,
championship, and would go on to win it a total of 7 times. And true to chaos, sometimes he won those championships in dominating fashion, like in 1987 and 1990, winning 10 and 9 races respectively. Other times he would just barely squeak them out, like in 1991 where he won just 4. In 1993 he won the championship with 6 wins compared to Rusty Wallace's 10. But Rusty was just too chaotic for his own good, and his average finishing position was worse, giving Senior the title.
Okay, fair enough.
He was absolutely ruthless. If he managed to catch you and fill up your rearview mirror, he was just as likely to make a legitimate pass as he was to just punt you out of the way.
Get out of the way,
yeah. In 1993 in the Coca-Cola 600, he found himself way behind the leader after a pit penalty. He needed a caution to get back into contention, so he just created one and spun out Greg Sacks. NASCAR saw this and said no way, and put him 1 lap down. Dale Sr., out of sheer spite and tenacity, ended up overcoming this under green and went on to win the race anyway.
That's insane.
After his passing in 2001, people looked back on the Intimidator fondly. But in his heyday, NASCAR fans were understandably quite split on Big E. I remember vividly sitting in the stands as a kid at the All-Star races in the 90s, and during driver intros, people would boo him mercilessly, more than any other driver. At Charlotte Motor Speedway,
like Kyle Busch.
Just a short drive down the highway from his hometown of Kannapolis, his hometown crowd booed him. But Dale trudged on to victory after victory, championship after championship. How does a man manage to win that much while making so many enemies?
It's strange to think like that. That's the first I've heard of Dale Earnhardt being booed, you know what I mean? And like the more and more I learn about NASCAR, or the more I look into the sport, and don't get me wrong, I fucking love the sport. Like, I've started to get a soft spot for Kyle Busch because I was like deliberately, like, I don't know if I convinced myself not to like him before I gave him a chance or what it was, but like I was just like, you know, because some of the things he says about his team, or has done across the length of his career early on and all that sort of stuff is you know, it's unforgivable. Those things, you can't say that sort of stuff about your team. But at the same time, like, I can really see parallels between Earnhardt and Busch. Let me know if you think I'm talking shit, but yeah, that interests me.
To show you how little he gave a shit sometimes, I'm going to show you what I think is the quintessential Intimidator moment. It wasn't some short track bump and run or a big block en route to a restrictor plate win. Nope. It was the last race of the 1992 season, the Hooters 500 at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Going into this race, we had 6 drivers mathematically eligible to win the championship, and none of them were Dale Earnhardt. 3 of them were long shots. Mark Martin, Harry Gant, and Kyle Petty pretty much needed a miracle to win. But the other 3, Davey Allison, Alan Kawicki, and Bill Elliott, were in a dead heat. Earnhardt had a miserable 92 campaign. After coming off back-to-back championships, everybody expected him to make a run at Kel Yarborough's record and get 3 straight, but fate would say otherwise. He qualified on the second row behind Rick Mast and Brett Bodine, 2 guys with just 1 victory between them, and who saw an opportunity to nab a win while the big dogs were playing at safe.
Not popular.
However, going into the first turn on the second lap, Earnhardt wrecks both of them. Why? Simple. He just didn't give a shit. And he certainly didn't give a shit that all 6 of the championship-eligible drivers were behind him when this happened. Somehow, all 6 made it through with only Davey Allison taking some minor damage to his quarter panel. It slowed his car down enough, however, that he spent dozens of laps trying to correct it. When he finally got it squared away, Swerve and Ernie Irvin lost it coming out of 4 and collected Davey, who was marching his way up through the field.
Oh, right.
Dale Sr. indirectly ruined Davey Allison's 1992 championship quest because he was salty about having a bad season and decided the pole sitters weren't going fast enough on lap 2. Again,
seems pretty similar to Busch Wrecking Old Mate in the Xfinity Series.
The nature of chaotic evil, just as likely to race you clean as they are to race you dirty. And when they do you wrong, chances are even they themselves couldn't explain why they did it, because chaos just doesn't give a shit.
It just happens. I did it before I thought.
To be sure. But you know what's simple and easy enough to wrap your head around? Evil. All drivers want to win week in and week out, but only one can go to victory circle at the end of the day. Sure, you can embrace chaos like Dale Earnhardt Sr., say to hell with the rules and just do as you please. But as we've already established, that's woefully inconsistent.
Yep.
But what if you didn't break the rules, but just bent them enough to get away with
Jeff
it
Gordon.
and made sure you would win? Let's talk a minute about lawful evil.
Maybe.
There's an old saying in racing, if you ain't cheating, you ain't winning. Everyone does it.
Ain't cheating, you aren't trying.
The driver isn't immune from it, although
That's how
they
I've heard it.
probably drove a questionably legal car unwittingly. We could talk about Flexgate from the previous season, where rear window bracing would give way at high speeds to redirect more air towards the spoiler, or Spingate, where Clint Porter spun himself out on purpose to give his teammate Martin Truex a better shot at getting into the chase.
Okay.
In both cases, NASCAR penalized the respective parties rather arbitrarily, being that there was technically no rule in place at the time to brake. Jeff Gordon's T-Rex car at the 1997 All-Star race was so...
Someone just appeared next to my fucking window and it's a cut-through. That's weird. I hate it when that happens. Why are you walking through my cut-through? Fucking weird people. Anyway.
Dominant that NASCAR effectively banned it the next day and told crew chief Ray Evernham to never bring it back to a racetrack ever again. You see, the best way to break a rule is to break it before it's even in the books, and there has to be no better master of loopholes and forward thinking than Junior Johnson. It's often joked that Junior Johnson essentially wrote half of the existing NASCAR rulebook with many shenanigans, but a lot of truth is said in jest.
Him and Smokey Yelnack or whatever his name is.
North Carolina bopped multiple times for running illegal moonshine. Junior Johnson won 50 races as a driver and 6 championships as a car owner. Coming from rural North Carolina, you might just write him off as another country bumpkin based on his slow manner of speaking and his deep southern drawl. But nothing could be further from the truth. Had he been born to the right family, he could have become a famous trial lawyer or a Francis Underwood-esque legislator. He knew how to weasel his way around the rules like no one else in his era or since. The list of things Junior Johnson has invented or discovered and introduced into NASCAR is just staggering. Drafting, he discovered that. The Twisted Sister concept, invented that. Constant wind tunnel testing for every single new car build, he started doing that first. Didn't like the way his Jackman was taking so long on pit stops, so he became the Jackman himself, and invented the Jack Swing, which had the added benefit of taking out NASCAR officials trying to count lug nuts. NASCAR didn't like that, declared him an illegal Jackman, and made the Jack Swing illegal, and instituted rules for who could and couldn't go over the wall for a pit stop, thus giving rise to designated pit crew members, and essentially inventing the choreographed pit stop as we know it. He slowed down pistons by fractions of a millimeter just so they'd fire off a little bit faster. He brought in F1 engineers to glean off information and know-how off of them. In 1966, he took advantage of a manufacturer boycott to enter a 66 Ford Galaxy into the race that was so disgustingly illegal that it now sits in the NASCAR Hall of Fame as his greatest work. That's just the stuff we know about. But there was no better example of his nefarious ways than the car he put into the very first All-Star race in 1985. Driven by Darrell Waltrip, this one-of-a-kind car had a bad fast motor and had just barely skated through pre-race tech inspection, and was now poised to make back the stupid amount of money used to build it in its very first start. Harry Gant got the leg up on DW thanks to better pit strategy, but Junior Johnson's Frankenstein creation ran him down and edged him out with a late race pass for the lead. As soon as Darrell Waltrip crossed the line to take the checkered flag, however, the engine blew all to pieces. Rumors immediately came flying from every direction. Most speculated that Waltrip had clutched the engine and over-revved it on purpose so it would blow. That way it wouldn't be subjected to inspection. After all, it's hard to inspect an engine when it's in a million tiny pieces littered across the track. Some even posited the opinion that Junior had put a remote explosive in the engine. A far-fetched theory to be sure, but the fact that it was even up for consideration is testament to Junior Johnson's conniving nature and his mile-long rap sheet. NASCAR inspected what was left of the car and the motor, and everything was in order as best as they could tell. 7 out of 8 cylinders were intact and up to spec. The 8th? Well, it's in pieces out in Concord, North Carolina somewhere. Probably sifted into the dirt beneath the speedway by now. NASCAR begrudgingly handed Junior Johnson his check, and he laughed his happy ass all the way to the bank.
Absolutely.
NASCAR fans will often muse out loud that if Junior Johnson had what we have today at his disposal, he would be unstoppable. But the men who drove for him will fire back with, how do you know he didn't? Let's go ahead and knock the equal third.
Alright, we're going to pause that there. We're about halfway through the video. My video can't record longer than, my camera can't record longer than a half hour, so I'm wary of getting too close and getting cut off while I'm talking and all that jazz. But yeah, this was part 1. I'm really excited for part 2, so I'm going to get straight into it. As I said at the start of the video, these guys are my patrons. Please consider becoming a patron. I like money. Having more money is always good. Everyone likes having more money than they have, regardless of how much they have and all that. But yeah, last month my patrons helped pay my rent. So if you want to help pay my bills and shit for me, that would be amazing. Your name will go on that list and you get a whole bunch of perks and stuff as well. Click the link in the description or the button at the end of the video. Do me a solid. And yeah, we'll just dive straight into part 2, shall we? So let's do this. I'll see you when I look at you. You'll see me when you look at me. Thanks for watching.